Welcome to Yankee Chronicle. I'm your host, Abby Peel, and today we are back here at Prospect Hill Furniture, Antiques, and Art Gallery in Sunapee Harbor. They invite you to visit their online cherish.com to locate new and hard-to-find unique products. We'll hear more about their amazing operation and what they have to offer. Keith Coughlin from the new London Barn Playhouse will give us a look at their balance of their season and a special Monday night event. Ben Barton will tell us about how his folks started the Barton Insurance Agency 70 years ago. And we'll close with another craftsman's profile as we prepare for the annual Craftsman's Fair at Mount Sunapee. But first, a few words from another one of the underwriters that make your Yankee Chronicle possible. Please stay with us.
This program is supported by H.R. Clough and Kearsarge Heating. Their full-service model offers oil delivery, propane, motor fuels with design, installation, service, and maintenance of all types of oil, gas, and alternative energy systems, as well as air conditioning, water conditioning systems, and backup generators. Their highly trained and friendly staff will assist you throughout the process of buying, installing, and servicing a full line of energy products. H.R. Clough and Kearsarge Heating. Echo Communications, a digitally integrated commercial printer and mailer located in New London, New Hampshire since 1997, with roots going back much further as the country press, AccuMail, and the home of the Kearsarge shopper. Echo Communications. Main Street Bookends of Warner, for books, toys, games, cards, gifts, and a gallery of local art. Main Street Bookends of Warner. The Innertown Record, your weekly hometown community newspaper covering the Kearsarge Sunapee Sunshine region of New Hampshire. The Innertown Record.
Welcome back to Yankee Chronicle. I'm your host, Abby Peel, coming to you from Prospect Hill Antiques right here in Sunapee Harbor. And I'm now joined by Corey Flynn, who's one of the owners here at Prospect Hill. Hi, Corey.
Hello.
Thank you for hosting us and joining me for these 2 weeks. Let's talk about the history of Prospect Hill, because you mentioned the barn last week, which I think a lot of people obviously know and love. It's quite famous. But talk about the history and how you ended up here in the harbor.
Yeah, so Ron and Barbara Sullivan started the barn, started Prospect Hill Antiques, I believe it was 1976, and I joined them in the late 90s, right out of high school. Started by doing simple tasks, you know, some of the shipment of containers from Europe that we'd unload, as well as some of the grounds maintenance, and then it just kind of morphed into a part-time job, which then became a full-time job, and worked there for 16 years before I bought the business back in 2016. So kind of the transition from the barn to the harbor. I was a local guy, grew up here in the neighborhood, so to speak, in Lower Village, and always loved the harbor, had a passion for it, always wanted to be part of it. It was kind of in my blood, if you will. And Rick Maston started working with us in, I believe, 2017, and he kind of had a similar vision or a dream, so to speak. And in 2018, we were able to purchase this building and moved Prospect Hill over officially 2 years ago from the barn. So we're excited about that. So we're here at 31 River Road, right in Sunapee Harbor, formerly known as Pete's Shed, as many people know it.
And it's completely different than the Red Barn space. So what was the vision? I mean, obviously the natural light that you get here must just be huge in terms of how you see some of these pieces.
For sure. So I started again at the barn, almost 20 years ago now, or 22 years ago, and as I grew there and listened to folks and became very active on the sales floor, one of the faults of the barn was for a vision for people to see what the furniture or what the piece could look like in their home.
Interesting.
So this was kind of obviously more of an in-home type vision for people to come in and see the furniture in a space that more closely resembled the room in their house. And then once we introduced the artwork 5 years ago as part of Prospect Hill's offering, it was just easy. It was easier for people to walk in and see what they needed to instead of imagining.
Sure.
Which, you know, we love the barn for those reasons.
Right.
We could fit a lot of inventory, but oftentimes people would walk by the piece that they would later fall in love with,
right.
but it might be a year later or 3 years later before they notice that same piece.
Exactly.
So this really kind of showcased not only the furniture, but also the artwork.
And you can mimic dining room sets, a sofa with a coffee table, a seating area in here beautifully. Yep. And talk about the art too, because you have it placed, I'm guessing, quite strategically with something that would pair well together. But you said the art's fairly new, but you have quite the collection here. So
the showing art is new to Prospect Hill as of 5 or 6 years ago. Of course, we have a customer base that's 40 years old, so not everybody has visited us in the last recent years, so they're always pleasantly surprised with the art when they come in. But we do, and Rick has a big role in that, we do try to position and place the art with more modern or contemporary furniture, if that's the type of art that we're showing, and then some of the more traditional art we'll put maybe with an antique. But we also like to really be eclectic, show a great mix. We work with several designers throughout New England, so we've always taken a piece of that back with us.
Sure.
So oftentimes, you know, when folks don't necessarily think they need a designer, they'll have us come out to the home, kind of look at their space, or they'll show us pictures via email, and we'll help them kind of formulate a plan. So without saying that we're designers, so to speak, we help in design in certain rooms. And sometimes it's only a few pieces, sometimes it's a whole room full.
Sure.
Sometimes it's just one, what we call kind of signature piece that really kind of makes a room jump and gives people a dynamic look that's different from kind of the cookie cutter design world. And you have some amazingly unique, beautiful pieces here. So I'm sure it's hard to pick, but definitely something very cool to think about in somebody's home and be able to place it there. Well, Corey, thank you so much for hosting us these last 2 weeks, and I encourage people to pop in. There are 3 floors of things to look at here, so you might miss something, but you should come back again. That's right. We have, even though it's smaller than the barn, we have 6,500 square feet with 3 floors, so there is lots to see. And you're always moving stuff around, too. So always out buying and looking for the next new thing. So, amazing. Well, Corey, thank you so much for hosting us. Thank you. When we return, we'll be joined by Keith Coughlin from the new London Barn Playhouse for a rundown of their balance of their summer season, including a special Monday night show coming up. But first, these words from another one of the great businesses that make your Yankee Chronicle possible every week here on YCN.
This program is supported by the Innertown Record, your weekly hometown community newspaper covering the Kearsarge Sunapee Sunshine region of New Hampshire. The Innertown Record. Welcome back to the new London Barn Playhouse and the famous porch here on Main Street, New London. I'm now joined by the Executive Artistic Director here, Keith Coughlin. Hello, Keith. Hello. Halfway through the season, it's crazy to think the 92nd summer season is halfway done, but there's a lot going on here at the barn. Always fast moving in the summer, especially. You know, I will say, you're talking about the fast moving in the summer. We're pleased to be doing now work for the community all year long. Which is great. But yes, we're in the heart of our 92nd summer season, and thrilled to be once again welcoming our community into this just beloved barn. 200-year-old building sitting here on Main Street, celebrating thousands of young artists and productions, and just thrilled to be continuing to do what we're doing. It's something like, correct me if I'm wrong, but about 1,500 people that you audition and interview and talk to before the summer season starts. Yeah, it's an extensive search. Yeah. We not only for the actors involved, but for all the technical staff. That's people who work in the scene shop or paint or sew. Sure. Our box office staff, other administrative staff that we have in the summer. That it pushes actually north of 1,500 people in terms of auditions and interviews.
and just grateful for this group that's doing all of the hard work that it is.
A lot of hard work. We're about to start Jersey Boys, which is much anticipated, hit some records earlier in the year selling tickets, but talk about Jersey Boys being on the stage. It's very popular.
I can't wait to share this piece. We've been actually trying to get the licensing rights to be able to produce it at the barn for a number of years. And thrilled to have it part of the season.
Great.
If you happen to not know that Jersey Boys is the story of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. So if you envision a story talking about the trials and tribulations, the highs and lows of this wonderful group, and all of their song library, which is some just incredible music. Yeah. And I have often said, if you happen to see Beautiful and loved that, I think you're just going to be blown away by Jersey Boys. And this quartet of guys, the Four Seasons, bringing their story and their music to life. I promise you, you're going to be tapping your toes and wanting to sing along when this is happening on the barn stage.
Fantastic. An exciting one-night performance coming up in July. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think that, you know, people know of all of the shows that are happening and obviously the Acting Intern Company, but we're really excited to announce a one-night only event. We're bringing a wonderful artist to the barn that's going to do a night of James Taylor covers.
Fun.
So Monday, July 22nd. And I think that anyone who happens to love the music, and how can you not love James Taylor in the summer?
Absolutely.
You're not going to want to miss this special live performance in the barn filled with all the James Taylor songs that you know and love. It's just going to be a wonderful time.
Going to be a hard night to not rock out to some of the best James Taylor shows. People can find more information on the website.
We look forward to welcoming people to this special one-night event.
Then moves into Rent, which is one that's, you know, a story well known, but can be a little tough for people to watch.
You know, I'm really excited. It's the first time the barn has produced Rent.
Oh, exciting.
On the barn stage. And I find it, you know, when it first appeared on the Broadway scene, it was a cultural phenomenon. It was a huge hit. And then since has been a movie and then done all over the world. But it's really now become a historic piece. It's telling a story of a time in New York City with these young artists and the struggles that are happening. And yes, you know, that can be some a sort of deeper piece to watch. I would say that you know, let parents decide. It isn't maybe a show for all ages. But if you don't happen to know, it's based on La Boheme, and it's just a wonderful contemporary rock show with wonderful music, with a really, really wonderful story.
Wonderful music. And then wrap up the season, which is crazy to think about, with Clue. Is that a first-timer here at the barn?
I believe, at least this adaptation of it. There has been a couple of adaptations kicked around for a while, but this is a new adaptation. It is Clue, and it is based on the wonderful film with Tim Curry and many others, and the board game. So if you happen to either love the board game, love the movie, or just love a wonderful murder mystery farce that's going to have you laughing and smiling, Clue is just going to be a wonderful, wonderful piece at the in August in our season.
And a wonderful way to wrap up the 92nd summer season. Then we'll wait to hear what you decide for the 93rd.
Oh, planning actually already being talked about, believe it or not.
I'm sure. For people who want more information, how do they find it?
You want to make sure to check out nlbarn.org, so www.nlbarn.org. Or stop right here on Main Street. Our box office is open and willing and able to help people with their ticket needs.
Very exciting. Keith, always great to check in with you. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Wow, the season keeps moving along. If you haven't been to the barn, make sure you get your tickets now. When we return, Ben Barton will tell us about a local business that was started 70 years ago. First, these words from another Yankee Chronicle underwriter. You can become one too. Contact us at info@ycnnow.com to learn more.
This program is supported by Main Street Bookends of Warner for books, toys, games, cards, gifts, and a gallery of local art. Main Street Bookends of Warner.
Welcome back to Yankee Chronicle. We are coming to you from Prospect Hill Antiques in Sunapee Harbor. The Barton Insurance Agency has been an integral part of our community for 70 years. Tell us more, Ben.
The Barton Insurance Agency actually started out as the Carlton F. Barton Real Estate and Insurance Agency. In 1954, my folks were offered an opportunity to come back to their hometown, New London, and when they arrived back, the offer was reneged upon. So in 1954, Mother and Dad had my eldest brother, Tom. He was born in '52, and at the time, my mother was pregnant with number 2, which is my brother Bill. And they came back to a small town, and they had to make a conscious decision to start a business, knowing that it was going to be from scratch. And later in the 50s, I remember them describing the 50s as the pregnant 50s. I came along in '56, and my brother Dan came along in 1958. So it was a handful, and my mother, God bless her, was in charge of the business finances and keeping my father on track. A great guy, but he needed that rudder, and she had 4 boys to deal with, and she did it in a masterful way. She was a great cook. She was a great mother. She provided inspiration, as all mothers do, and it was a task that we as kids never understood, but my father and mother decided as a team to operate a business. And my father, having been a field representative for the home insurance company out of Boston, my mother had a teaching background in financial accounting, and she took care of the accounting part of the business. They took an opportunity and made it the American dream, and I have total respect for that. That was in the early '60s, and they developed the business on Main Street, not where I am today, but down opposite the firehouse. And they grew the business, added on to the house where I grew up. And George Cressetti came along and said, "Hey, Bud, you need to go over to the new shopping center in 1972. And so things were changing in town, and the shopping center became much more retail, and the office environment was being swallowed up by the retail. And so it was 1979 when I graduated from Springfield College, and I had no idea what I wanted to do for a career. And the first thing I thought about was, well, let's take a look at the family business. And it was at that period that I could live at home, allowed me to learn the business, decide whether or not I was going to continue a real estate and insurance tradition, which ultimately turned into the insurance side. Unfortunately, in that period, my mother contracted cancer in 1979, 6 months after I had joined the business, and unfortunately died 2 years later. It was fish or cut bait time, buy the business, the rest is history, as they say. So it was a very difficult period, yet it was a formative period for myself and in establishing the business, that it was time for me to move from that location, and for a brief time went to the carriage house next to what is now Bar Harbor Bank. That was 87 to 90, and the agent, I knew I needed to have a spot that I could call my own and have ownership in the property. So in 1991, I was able to negotiate with Sumner Woodard to buy this property here at 52 Main Street. So the business for my folks was always paper and pencil. Even as I came into the business, that was changing. And IBM came out with their XT drive and computer, a personal computer, and we had to have that. Well, making a total move to automation, it would have been in the 2000s, because it just wasn't available for the small agency at that time. It was a positioning of going from paper to half and half, and then fully engaging in the automation, which really occurred 2006 for the agency. The changes that were requiring the efficiency of automation were because you had a lot more competition in the marketplace. You had different models of channels of distribution when it comes to choices for the consumer, and we had to stay relevant in our technology in order to reach out to the client and in ways that were efficient, and the automation allowed us to do that. Today we are paperless, and documentation is all through the system, the customer database, as we all know, And communications are email and automated so that we don't miss opportunities for people through processes that need to be identified every day. When we talk about the changes in the business and the ways that the consumer has for choices, the reason why the independent agency channel survives today and thrives, even more so today than maybe in recent past, is because we have choices to make between companies that we can offer for the client. Number one, we're doing the shopping with the companies that we represent, which are several. Number two is that people have realized that there's the interaction between agent and themselves that brings value to the table. Having the ability to call an insurance company today to talk to, in our case, talk to the same account manager every day and have a personal relationship with that person is meaningful. And it's more meaningful today than ever because you have the .com environment, direct writer environment where you don't have the ability to get your answers quickly. What does that mean to the agency? It means that we have people that value the relationship. They talk about us around town. We are able to support the things that we all enjoy about living in a small community. And because of that, the community is strengthened. And it's not like you're giving up, you're not giving up a competitive position. We're competitive with all the carriers if we are able to write the business in a package form. So it's really a matter of deciding whether or not you want your business locally or outside the territory. And we think that we've seen a surge in that response now in our local communities and around in my territory because people want that relationship with the knowledge that the insurance coverage is being written properly and will respond when you need it.
Congratulations, Ben, and your great staff for providing great service for these 70 years. When we return, we'll visit another New Hampshire craftsperson that will be showing at this year's Craftsman's Fair at Mount Sunapee Resort. But first, these words from good folks that make our communities the great places they are, the businesses that support YCN, and the other organizations you know and love.
Jersey Boys is the international music phenomenon that takes you behind the scenes and behind the music of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. Winner of the Best Musical Award at the 2006 Tony Awards, Jersey Boys tells the story of the Four Seasons' 40-year friendship and rise to stardom. Jersey Boys does contain adult language and adult situations and may not be appropriate for our young musical theater goers. Audiences will be thrilled with the electrifying performances of chart-topping hits including Sherry, Big Girls Don't Cry, Walk Like a Man, and I Can't Take My Eyes Off You, just to name a few. If you loved Beautiful in the 2023 summer season, we think you're gonna go crazy for Jersey Boys.
Welcome back to your Yankee Chronicle, coming to you from Prospect Hill Antiques, Home Furnishings, and Art Gallery in Sunapee Harbor. I'm your host, Abby Peel. Let's hear from one of the many craftspeople that are in our area.
My name is Matt Brown. I juried into the league in 1995. I've been over 20 years a juried member. I make color woodblock prints using Japanese hanga method. That's printing with water, multiple block, all with hand tools, brushes. My inspiration is mostly mountains, the ocean. Mountains are a special place. I think of art as a window on our world. The craft I make is flat shapes, flat carved shapes, and the tension of the flat carved shapes and the depicted pictorial space, that's something that fascinates me. The League has been helpful. It's offered markets and also guidelines for my work. It's set up rules, it's set up a standard of excellence, and it's set up wonderful opportunity for conversation and learning with my fellow printmakers and with a great audience. If I'm doing something intricate like some letters, I'd come in with a knife. Come in carefully like so. I might carve these letters out. I often think of the carving, especially when I'm carving with a knife, as I'm like drawing with the knife. And I might come in like so, carve that shape right on out. All right, so this is printing with water. It's a simple, non-toxic printing method, which is just pigment, water, and rice paste. And the rice paste I've made in the kitchen from rice starch. Rice paste helps you to control the color. Without it, it's hard to get good, solid, even color. Take a sheet, pick up my Baron. So this is printing without a press. The Baron and my body are the press. It's a wonderful quality of this printing method that you pull that print and the color is in the paper. I can touch these prints and it's almost like dyeing the paper. The light's finding the color in the paper. That gives it that soft, nice look of watercolor printing. I've been aware of the League of New Hampshire Craftsmen since I was a kid. But I remember clearly a visit to the League of New Hampshire Craftsmen's annual fair, and I remember saying to myself, wow, maybe one day I could have my own booth at the Craftsman Fair, and that's basically happened, and it's a pleasure to think of that and that connection.
Thank you. The annual New Hampshire Craftsman's Fair will take place at Mount Sunapee Resort August 3rd through 11th. Mark your calendars. We'd like to thank our host location these past 2 weeks, Prospect Hill Furniture, Antiques, and Art Gallery in Sunapee Harbor, where they have 6,500 square feet on 3 floors, providing an excellent viewing experience of new fine furniture with over 100 antiques on display, as well as 21 artists in-house offering pastels, oil, and acrylics. Join us next week from New London Hospital as we ramp up for the 2024 Hospital Days and Parade for another edition of your Who, What, Where, and When show of the Dartmouth Lake Sunapee region. Our next replay of the game of the week is Newport versus Somersworth football. All of our games replay at noon and 7 p.m. on Sundays and Mondays. Check out YCNnow.com for the most up-to-date schedules and on-demand viewing for all of our shows. Thanks again to the good folks here at Prospect Hill Antiques for supporting our show. Stop in and take a look. You'll be surprised at how much is here. I'm Abby Peel. Join us again next week at the same time for another Yankee Chronicle.
This program is supported by H.R. Clough and Kearsarge Heating. Their full-service model offers oil delivery, propane, motor fuels with design, installation, service, and maintenance of all types of oil, gas, and alternative energy systems, as well as air conditioning, water conditioning systems, and backup generators. Their highly trained and friendly staff will assist you throughout the process of buying, installing, and servicing a full line of energy products. H.R. Clough and Kearsarge Heating. Echo Communications, a digitally integrated commercial printer and mailer located in New London, New Hampshire since 1997, with roots going back much further as the country press, AccuMail, and the home of the Kearsarge shopper. Echo Communication, the Innertown Record, your weekly hometown community newspaper covering the Kearsarge Sunapee Sunshine region of New Hampshire. The Innertown Record.